The first thing that I noticed about the movie White Noise is the glorification of death. And as the movie was proceeding, and I watched obviously together with most of the people who have watched it, after discovering that it was almost the scripted version of what happened with the derailment of a train that happened in the Ohio area about a month ago, which led to the controlled burning that eventually led to a spreading of a toxic cloud over the area. So I did a search about East, the village where the story happened, and one thing that you'll notice about the area is that it's not exactly okay. It's first of all, according to the reports that I've been reading, it's a very poor neighborhood. It's one of the places that were initially created around industry, especially the motor vehicle industry. And after a while, with the emerging economies and what happened with the transfer of labor into other countries, you'll find that most of the people there are currently unemployed. They live off the land, and basically it's not one of the more affluent places. So then, what I found very interesting about the movie is that it occurred to me that it was an enactment of a ritual that was actually summoning death. So this is what happened. The introductory portion of the movie is people, the star of the movie, talking about death, talking about or watching Hitler, basically referring to the fascination that Hitler had with death, and they had this philosophy that they were trying to inculcate or weave into the fabric of the movie so that it became what the movie was about, that death is where everything in the world of that movie was heading to. So the star of the movie is saying that life is a journey towards death, everything is a journey towards death, everything has death as a basic component. This all comes to a climax when the star of the movie is invited to a classroom, which was sort of a historical classroom. There's a teacher who was majoring in a popular star in history, a pop star. So he was talking about this guy, and he was saying that this person was great in this manner. So he invited this death guy to come and talk about Hitler. And as he was, they started as a back and forth, which was a planned poetic, with everything in the ensemble, including accompanying music, including the tension, frequency rising movies, and then it rises to a crescendo, where the star of the movie actually starts lowering his voice into a whisper in some kind of hair-raising, summoning work, cultist-like posture, and starts summoning death by name, and actually goes to point. Okay, in the later they show it as if he was pointing at one of the audience members, but he actually came and pointed to the camera in a way of pushing that energy of death that he was summoning forth into the audience. Now, at the height of this presentation within the movie, a train comes. Remember, this is the same town where the accident happens. Now, in the movie, a train carrying a toxic substance is heading fast towards the village. On Wikipedia, it's called a village as opposed to a town. It's registered as a village. So the train is moving fast, and there's also on this other side petrol or some kind of a flammable liquid tanker that is also being driven, and loses brakes or loses something, and heads onto the side of a railroad track where the train has already reached this place and smashes it in the middle. The train veers off the railway, and the cargo that was being carried by the train gets pushed out of the track against each other and against this tanker, and in a short while the toxic liquid, flammable, starts oozing out of the train. Then there's a little smoke, there is fire, there's an explosion. So in the real life, this is what happened about a month ago. The train came, this was in the US. The town is called the same name as the town that has been at war with the Promised Land for since the inception of the Promised Land. So in real life, this train had an issue when it was traveling through East Palestine, heading into a place where probably it was the substances were being taken to for processing. Now on the carriage were some vinyl kind of things, chemical compositions that are associated with vinyl, chloride, among other flammable liquids. And before the train reached the village, it had already started, one of the cargo vehicles, one of the cargo tanks had already caught a little bit of fire. So when it reached that place, something happened and it veered off the railroad. The town management, the management of the city or of the village or whatever, I think it was the city under which the village falls, decided to avoid an uncontrolled explosion by extracting the liquid out of the flammable liquid out of the tanks and directing it to a dugout area before setting it up on fire. So the residents of the surrounding town or the nearby town were told to evacuate, and this was a poisonous substance that burned for a few days, and the rest of the story is online. So if you want to know the implications or the health consequences, you need to go online, because chances are that the internet might be combed for stories that do not line up with the official story. So that was real life. Now I went and did a search of the town, like I said before, and it's a town with a few, actually quite a number of, first of all, the population is estimated at around 5,000, so it's not a big town, it's not a big village, the people are not so many. However, and this might be as a result of the manufacturing industry that was there previously, the village hosts a number of lodges, society lodges, and it creates the impression that it is a society that values the brotherhood kind of things, and maybe religion too, maybe, but it's also a poverty-stricken area. Now, back to the weird white noise movie. Now, the toxic cloud was seen hovering in the movie. It was hovering over the surrounding areas, and it was reacting with lightning because it was it had a sparkle in it that looked a bit dangerous, and it passed. And the star of the movie was exposed to it for around 2.5 minutes, and he went to see the medical people that had been brought to the camp where they had been evacuated to tell him of the consequences that the exposure would have been. And they told him that he probably had 15 years to live before the chemical really the damage manifested, or his life was cut short. But they seemed to not take it so seriously. The movie continues to discuss death. The wife of the star has an irrational fear of death also, which leads her to peel herself on a tablet that had not been approved. So she volunteered herself to an experimental tablet, which ended up failing, And so the entire movie was centered around the theme of death. And in the end, they make this robotic dance in a supermarket, which in a few scenes before that had been presented with discussions of the poisonous nature of some of the things that we are taking in the name of the additives that are added in food, in crop production. So basically the entire movie was talking about all things that are poisoning men and are drawing them near a death experience. So they referred to food, manufactured food, they referred to growing crops, they referred to the air, they referred to everything that you could think of, which, especially the man-made causes of the things that whose effect on the human body in general could be is questionable or is being researched on, or there's a lot of conspiracy theories around. So they covered all poisoning conspiracies, they covered all food and medication conspiracies, and all kinds of conspiracies that are out there were represented in this very weird movie before finishing it up with an even a dance that looked like a choreographed zombie apocalypse stroke robotic stroke cultist worship kind of presentation, with them lifting up foods or packages which did not have labels, or which was very strange, and I wouldn't recommend if you're impressionable in terms of, or if you're watching block, try as much as you can to block off the energy that is generated in the movie. Try to protect yourself from getting drawn into the energy that was being created in the movie, because it's not positive thematically. So yeah, if you decide to watch it, it's one of those weird Netflix production that leaves us with more questions than answers.